everyone, and welcome to the Human Impact Theory podcast. I am your host, Jacqueline Way, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. Welcome to my home. We aren't fancy, but we are coming from our heart to yours. The fact that you press play on this episode means something today. It means you care. It means you're curious. It means that you're ready to learn a new way of living that includes intention, purpose, and meaning that when you show up for your life, you're showing up for this planet as well. Because let's face it, sustainability can be overwhelming to say the least. It can be complicated, and sometimes it even feels really out of reach for a lot of us. But what if it wasn't? What if it's actually really simple? And what if you could start today a new way of learning in your own life, how you can lead and how you can make choices right down to your shower starting today? My guest today is a very dear friend, Francisco Suárez. He is someone who has dedicated his life to helping people and businesses find the answers to sustainability. He's a two-time TEDx speaker, a successful businessman, a passionate writer, and most of all, a global advocate for sustainability as a way of life every single day. Today, we're talking about what it really means to live sustainably, no more greenwashing, and to take the lead in your own life every day. So let's get started and let's get into it. We're so happy you're here with us. Here we go. My friend Francisco, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming to the Human Impact Theory podcast. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's a honor to be with you.
Well, we met through what I think are some pretty unique circumstances. Not only did we meet on LinkedIn, but it was the fact that so much of our messaging is so similar. And it's what I really want to talk to you about today around sustainability and sustainable living is you are an author, you're a businessman, you're a father, and this all integrates into your life on a daily basis. And I really want to start there today with you. And your TED Talk, which I absolutely love, can
Thank
you
you.
give us the Spanish title, first of all, to your TED Talk?
Well, there are actually two. And by the way, let me correct you on something really important.
Sure.
I actually met you through your TED Talk, and I fell in love with your message, what you do, and I truly admire everything. So, and then I contacted
Thank
you.
you.
So it
On
was through
LinkedIn. Yes.
through your TED Talk, and
Thank
I
you.
actually have two. The first one was more it was I think more than 10 years ago,
Mhm.
and it was the title is how to achieve sustainable practices or a more sustainable world through entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs. That was like the
Mm,
first one,
that was the first
and
one.
that
Yeah.
was in Morelia here in a nice, really nice city in Mexico.
Yeah.
And then the second one was my personal commitment with sustainability.
Yeah.
That's the title, and that was around I think maybe 7 8 years ago.
It was almost the
And
same time I did mine too. Yeah.
yeah, and it was a really nice city also in the southeast of Mexico, Villahermosa in Tabasco. So
Mm.
and by the way, that city gets deeply hit with storms and floods. So talking about sustainability and impact, it was funny because I was getting to the airport and trying to get to the auditorium where the event was, and it was like a big flood. So it
It was
totally connects.
perfect.
Yeah, perfect to connect with the atmosphere. Yeah.
Well, I love the translation. So, can you say the title for me of your TED Talk in Spanish, first of all?
Well, mi compromiso personal con el planeta.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want everybody to also know what it is in English because I translated it all myself. And when it translates, it's a chain of personal commitment to the planet, which I absolutely loved because it really beautifully captures this idea that sustainability starts as an individual action that's really linked together. And I love that it was this, a chain of personal commitment, because it's a lot of what we talk about and what connects us with 365 Give, that these are everyday actions. And when we link them together as a global community, that's when we really start to see the difference that we all can make. Now, I just want to make sure I've got this right as well.
Yes, correct. And there's a nice, well, element that I think we're going to talk a little more about this also. A piece, important piece of that TED talk that relates with my commitment to my three sons around
Yes.
that. So
Well, and
I
that's
think it's
really where
important.
I
Yeah.
wanted to start with you today was, let's start at that beginning part. How did you become so committed, both personally and professionally, to sustainability? And, is this where it started with your children?
Yes. Well, actually, during the years, I have that question. Uh, I've answered that question before, and it comes. I think there's a lot of elements that combine. Obviously, it's my energy and trying to leave a better planet for my sons and hopefully grandsons and granddaughters. But it's now, I would say, at least three generations that have inspired me. Number one, my grandfather, my father's father, he started in Baja California and Ensenada. It's called Ciencias Marinas, or Marine Science University in Baja. And actually, the lab over there is has his name, Ricardo Suárez Isla. And then my father was an oceanologist and geologist. And there's a research institute over there, CICESE, that the building of earth science is, is is now also named under my father. And and so I had a great examples through them. And also my mother, she was really key in involving me when I was really young. She started like a kinder, no, no, let me translate that, like a garden club, very based with activities around your reforestation, doing your own personal gardens and urban gardens. So and also a lot of nice work around flowers and all of that. No, so
Yeah.
she got me involved in that. So I think it's a mix of that. And then in the company, I've been working for almost 30 years. I had the honor to be leading sustainability for the company startup
Mm.
the area. So I got involved also back then. It was about 15 years ago with different NGOs. One really important one that I actually was the chairman some years after is the World Environment Center based in Washington D.C. That it's been working for now more than 50 years, and we have the gold medal award every year, and a lot of important actions. And I'm still close to a lot of environmental and social NGOs, and I've been like going through the different roles in the company. Being a CEO of a juice company, based soy based, and almond milk company of Latin America, and also being in charge of sustainability. And one important part is that even though sometimes I have to change roles within the company, I've tried to maintain, even if it's time consuming and crazy in my agenda, my key seats or time in the boards of like the 80-20 most important NGOs and foundations related with this. So I would say it's like a mix of a lot of different elements that have made me so motivated. I'm working on this, and obviously my sons and
Of
better
course.
future. Yeah.
Well, I love the fact too, and I want, especially, I think we have a lot of parents and educators that watch the podcast, is it's that teaching the kids while they're young, right? And obviously it's how 365 Give started as well when I was teaching my son. And it's understanding that even though we may not see it in the moment in time when we're teaching them, those lessons stay with them for their life. And then as we get older, It integrates. I mean, we're seeing this, and what I love hearing from you is that you've integrated this into all areas of your life. It's not just, I wanted to set an example for my boys. It was, how do I do this for the future, but how I've integrated it into work and also the volunteer work that you do as well. When you're sitting on board of directors and integrating it into your company, you're not getting paid for all of that. That's work that you're contributing to the world at large. So I love that that's all integrated for you.
Yeah, at the end, I think you know, when it, when you know when I close my life, I would like to be remembered of not the uh, amount of bottles or cases I sold of juices or soft drinks or whatever cans related to my industry. I would like to be remembered for my contribution to the planet and to the
Mhm.
community.
Well, I love that you just said that because that was perfect for my next question. And you've said, in your talks and your writing that you do, that sustainability isn't just about the planet. It's about people and it's about purpose. Why is that? What do you see as that kind of distinguishing factor between, when we talk about sustainability, it's not just about our planet. How is it all integrated together and who we are and how we can relate to it on different levels, not just we need to take care of our planet because we live here.
Yes, well, if you ask that question related to business, and something I write a lot, and I try to well, no, I try to integrate in my day to day is sustainability in the business side is the triple bottom line, or generating economic, social, and environmental value at the same time. So
Mm.
if you're not really measuring your that triple bottom line or that triple impact, you're not really being sustainable.
Mm.
And
Love
and
that.
the personal side, I would say, if you're still like working or thinking, what am I going to do this year around Earth Day? And it will be my only action throughout the year.
The whole year.
Yeah, the
It's
whole
Earth Day.
year.
Let's do something, right?
Yeah, okay, it's nice, no, it's a good start, but and actually I wrote this year around Earth Day. Why Earth Day has to be every day, okay? And it's a lot about the same concept of 365 give. You have to be actually integrating this into your day to day. If you I try at least to plan my next month, sometimes at least a week, and optimizing. Here in Mexico City, the traffic is crazy. So if you're not planning in a correct way, how to move, how to have optimize your routes, how to and that translates into time, into emissions. So that's like really simple. And sometimes, and more after the COVID or the pandemic, the pandemia, we started again not analyzing, do I really have to move? Do I have to be in that meeting physically? Can I do this via a video conference? Do I have to travel? So there's an actually a really interesting day, talking about days, that's the overshoot day. It's the day where the planet is not able to recuperate for all the emissions we as the population, or we are emitting more that the planet can recuperate in 1 year. So in the pandemic, even though we were in lockdown, we only had a 10% reduction of emissions. So we have a lot of work to do on that. I would say planning your groceries, planning what you're gonna really eat, and not waste in the week. And by the way, if there's by Friday some extra meal, I would say obviously donate the meal, or at least make sure that the Friday you're gonna eat maybe a little bit of everything, but never waste
Don't
food.
waste the food, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of actions, recycling, and I can go on and on.
Well, we're
But
going to touch on some of
yeah,
those as well.
yeah.
I'd love to touch on this term that's kind of, flying around a lot right now, and especially in the business world. And I think that you're a key person that we can talk to this about. And that's the word greenwashing,
Mhm.
because it's going to be, it's the title of our conversation today. And, I think that we really need to help people understand this difference between greenwashing, and especially in organizations and companies, what does that term really mean? And how can we either spot it? And what's the difference between real action that we're seeing taken and the greenwashing that's been going on?
Yes, well, look, I think that's something really important, and I would say the following: to avoid greenwashing, or sometimes companies, organizations do the process totally in the opposite way. To avoid greenwashing, or to kind of give you a double answer on how to integrate sustainability and avoid greenwashing. Like the normal cycle will be like integrate practices in the core business. You have a strategy, have KPIs, have projects, results, and then communicate. Okay,
Hmm.
not before. And a lot of organizations, they have in their plans uh, X, Y, and Z, and they start communicating things that they have not done. Okay.
I
By the
like
way,
that. Uh,
I don't think it's bad to communicate goals. Okay, at all.
yeah,
I think big goals, audacious goals are important, but I would be cautious of disorder. No, you really have some results to communicate. And
hmm,
and again, my goals by 2030, 2040, 2050 are X, Y, Z. But I think it's a combination. And sometimes you're communicating or over communicating things you're planning to do, and you don't have the results in place and in order to really have the trophies, the sustainable trophies to communicate. So that I would just be
I
careful
like
with
that.
that.
Yeah.
And generally I think it's a good tip. Just kind of balance that, that formula.
Well, and I think it's really important, especially for the generations coming up right now and the generations going into the workforce. What we know for sure is the importance it is for them going into the workforce today. And that includes Gen X, Gen Y, and even millennials. And it's important to them that companies that they are actually joining and being part of companies that are doing the hard work right now. And they're doing things that are purposeful and meaningful to both our planet and the world around us. And I think that's a great tip for all of us is don't just look for those goals, but dig in a little further. Everybody's website should be actually showing you those KPIs, as you say, the metrics that say, hey, this is what we've actually accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great way of looking at the greenwashing that's out in the news today and how we can look at it differently and also make people accountable, right? And companies accountable for the work that they say they're going to do. Let's make sure that they're doing it too. And potentially for the companies that you're working for, right? And keeping your leaders accountable for what they say they're going to accomplish or being part of that change within your own organization. So that's great. Thank you for clarifying that and how we can look at that differently. So let's get into some tips for everybody. And you've already started, and I'd like to look at the two different areas of tips that we can do today. So
Mm-hmm.
you did a great article on LinkedIn for, as you had mentioned, you did a great article there talking about everyday actions that we can take. So we've got two groups of people we're talking to today. We've got the people like me who are the everyday actions people. What can I do? What are kind of 6 or 7 things, a few things that I could do, just plain old me in my neighborhood, in my own little world that I could do and take action towards every day that's going to start to make a difference in my little world. And that's really where we come from with 365 Give. You're a businessman, you're part of a big organization, but sometimes I feel like, well, what difference will it make for the things that I'm doing individually? What are some of those things that we can start doing and taking action for today in our life?
Of course, and a lot of them that I'm going to mention apply to you as an individual in your house and to a business. One is really become an internal auditor, or review what you're
Internal
doing in your
auditor.
house.
Mm,
At the end, inspect your own uh, water installations, water
mm,
faucets.
yeah,
That sometimes you don't even are aware that uh, there's a lot of waste because we're because of faulty uh, installations in your house. I would ask you, I don't know if it's common over there, but here in Mexico, when you open the water, and I don't know, in some cases over here it's 30 seconds, 1 minute for the water to get warm to start your
right.
shower.
Get your
So
hot
what
water.
what
That's
what
right.
what do you
Yeah.
do with that? you can connect it to the other systems, toilet or whatever, and make a good use of that water.
Right. And
Uh,
watering your plants, right?
Watering
Watering
your
that garden
plants.
you were talking about. Philip, that's a
Exactly.
great idea.
Yeah.
I love that one. I haven't really thought of that one. We're going
Yeah.
to start that one here at my house.
Good. Good.
I love
And
that. You've
again,
just inspired me. I'm
good.
always guilty of that. I don't want to waste the water. So I love that idea that every morning I'm just going to stick my water because it's summer here in Canada as well. So I'm going to stick my water can underneath my before I get my shower going in the morning from now
Yeah.
on. Thank you for that one.
Yeah. And by the way, in Vancouver, where you live, and I visited my
Mhm.
son over there, uh, there's a lot of great practices that you take for granted that over here
Yeah.
we're just starting. Okay, so you know, continuing with your house, and by the way, this applies also to your office. What is happening to the waste? There's a lot of way to reuse water in your house and also in the work environment. And then the lighting, what kind of lighting do you have? Is it LED, LED, uh, truly installed? Do you have intelligent systems in your house when you're not moving around? Do you need the whole house lit in? And so there's a lot of different areas that sometimes, again, I know your audience maybe be a little more near North America, but this
No,
applies to
we're
yeah,
we're
and
global. Mexico's a big audience for us. Don't knock at
right.
that. And
Oh,
India. So these are areas that, in my house, I've started with my boys because I find teenagers, and I don't know about the rest of you out there, but I got teenager boys. I know you've got some of those and a little older,
mhm.
but we're at the point now in my house, and you would think that everybody would have giving back, down to a science in my house. But I've told them if they leave a light on now, when they leave the house, that they actually owe me $1 for it. So I've really started making it hurt for them, not only in their heart, but in their bank book as well. Because not only is it costing us money, it's costing us in the planetary perspective. And that's really the message that I keep driving home as well, is that every time we can do one little thing to make a difference, it does contribute to the whole of where we are as well. And I think that's a continued message that you share as well. What about for people, and this is maybe a bigger question, but what about you've done, as you said, in your own company, a lot of you run whole sustainable practices within your own company that you're with. How do people, for companies that don't have a sustainability, whether it's values and or practices within the company, what's something that just one of the workers, maybe you're not a leader, you're not a CEO, but you're one of the workers at a company. What could you do to start encouraging that within your own organization to get the leaders on board? Because you've certainly changed a lot of minds in your own company.
Yes, well, continuing with ideas that can work within the work space or the private sector and also in your house and day to day. One key item that I think is really important and it helps a lot of different areas is support local business, the SMEs, the small
Mm,
businesses around your community. That I think that has a lot of great contributions. Number one, it's local, so the footprint of you know food or just materials, just be aware where does it come from, and it has a much better footprint. And in that case, well, obviously, we're trying to have goals around sustainable sourcing. That will be something important. But again,
mm.
if you just take a good look of the brand or go to a local market and purchase fruits and vegetables, obviously sometimes it's impossible because of temperature and stations. But yes,
Yeah,
try
the
to
availability in Mexico is a little different here than I just
yes.
can't get local avocados no matter how
I
hard I
know, and
try,
we have
Francisco.
almost all of the year mangoes over here and great
Right?
limes but well,
All of it.
I know I went for sure in Canada. You have a lot of different items that you can get
We do.
locally
We do.
throughout the year. If you have an eye for that, because if you're
Yes.
not conscious, you're just picking up any product and you're not
Mhm.
paying attention to the footprint. And that applies like to our plans, to the different businesses, and again, it can apply to your day to day. The other I would say practice that is interesting that I touched a little bit is a sustainable. transportation. Okay,
Yeah.
the challenge of our generation, and I'm talking about 50, a span of maybe 50, 20 to 50 years is going to be the change of fossil fuels to renewable. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
if we're not, starting to get a lot of different items in our day-to-day agenda, obviously, the simple ones as an individual, obviously, if the weather permits, if they're not like snowing crazy sometimes in
We ride our
Vancouver.
bikes here no matter what. It doesn't
Yeah,
snow
yeah,
much in
yeah.
Vancouver.
I
So we
got that.
ride in the rain, we ride in the sun, you name it.
Yeah, and I got that again. It's incredible. Biking, walking, public
Public
transportation. And by the way,
transportation.
you're really fortunate to again all of this information I have through my son that he's been living now in Vancouver for 3-4 years. Public transportation.
Yeah.
Over there you have
Ubiquity.
it like picture perfect on time, and it's kind of a normal practice. Over here,
Mm-hmm.
if you're lucky, sometimes it's on time, uh,
Or
and,
it shows
and
up.
if it
Right.
shows up or it's full or there's a lot of different
Yeah.
challenges. So when I'm talking about this, the challenges are different. Talking
Yeah.
about the region and the country, but again, if it's not consistent in your day to day. And over here, we also right now have the challenge of using EVs or electric vehicles in a more consistent and what on a bigger scale. Over here. We're still have the challenge of not having like the system logistically connected to just refuel or re-energize in our infrastructure in Mexico. So right now, I'm talking with mayors about the importance of having the ports, the points to recharge, and it's a mix of having the lanes for the bicycles, the lanes to walk. So again, that's a really big one for all of us. And I think one more would be in general reuse. I
Yes.
think
As
we have
much as
to.
you can, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a lot to learn from our grandparents and other generations where it was so
Right.
normal to use
Darning
again.
those socks, right? We used to
Yeah,
darn our socks.
clothing and a lot of different
Right?
items
Yeah.
that we have this consumption
Yeah.
mentality that we have to buy new and forget about you just get to know your local repair shops, and a lot of things can
Absolutely.
be repaired. Okay, some things
Yes.
are technology is another story, but simple items in your house before thinking about of throw it into the trash or recycling in the correct way.
Right.
Can it be reused or can it be used by someone else? Okay, so
Someone
that's
else,
kind of
right?
something that in companies and as in your house is key to have
Yeah,
in mind.
and I agree. I'm a huge, and this isn't a plug for Facebook by any means, but I'm a huge Facebook marketplace user because I love buying all my stuff secondhand. It's like that's just satisfying to me, or I get rid of things. And the other thing is, I mean, and I think you as well, you have this as well. I think most places in the world do. We donate almost everything. When I don't have use for it here at home anymore, whether it's the kids' toys, whatever it may be, it automatically goes to the Salvation Army here. I literally have one down the street. I will make a run there however often that I need to, just to make sure that I've constantly got things in the flow of the system. And I know you have challenges with recycling in Mexico. We're very blessed with a very robust system here in Canada of recycling, but these are all of the things that we can start implementing. There was one thing that you said that I think is so important that I really want to touch on before we wrap up.
Mhm.
And the one thing that you said is it's a consciousness, it's an awareness. It's really, and you've talked about this, you've talked about it in your TED Talks, you talk about it in your writing. It's the mindset shift that we really need to make. Talk to us just a little bit about that mind shift. How do we start to be more aware? How do we make that conscious, clear effort every day to do something and that something makes a difference?
Well, look, in my case, I have been working, like I mentioned, this for a lot of years now, and I have the example of father, grandfather, but I learn every day. I think have to be really humble and
Mm,
be be open to learn every day, because like I mentioned, and one of my push and help I have every week is to write my weekly column of
Mm,
sustainable actions.
yeah, I
So
love
so
that.
one tip would be, a lot of times just review the info you're processing every day. A lot of times, you know what you're reading, you know what your
Consuming or
eyes
scrolling,
consuming.
right?
Why don't you just,
Yeah.
search for some practices that locally can apply? Okay,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, there's a lot of NGOs that I've gotten to know, that I thought that I knew all of them. No, there's a lot of different NGOs that are right now making great work with planting trees around the city. That then, a lot of times we're thinking about the forest, that is really important, but within the city, the impact is huge.
Yeah.
Just
Even
again,
more, right?
just going out the window and see where could I plant some native plants that obviously have
Hmm.
a better percentage of survival, and help my local community and where I live
At the
in
same
my
time.
day to day.
I
So
love
I
that.
would say, for me, it's a journey. It's not something that I said I got this and I'm the champion. And no, it's something that I learn every day. But I also follow leaders such as Al Gore, and then I've been taking seminars and workshops to better understand and have how to uh, to better do my work. Learn every day, and like I mentioned,
Mm.
there's so much innovation with AI, technology. There's a lot of different
Right?
tools that we could use. And I love, by the way, your comment about the dollar when they leave the lights on. But I would say, why not install, an intelligent grid within your house or system, where you make sure that, no matter what, you're never going to
The lights are
forget that
off.
when
Yeah.
there's no movement, it's going to be turned off. Or if you forget, you have your app that you can, turn on
You
the
can use
light
it
or
from your
whatever,
phone. Yeah,
whenever
I
you
love
are.
that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I love that. That's great. And I think that's the big one too. I want to go back and mention, because this is something we can all do. If whoever's listening, and if you're listening, it's because you're using social media. You use your social LinkedIn to use that voice, to do writing, to share what you're doing in the sustainable world. We could all do that, even if it's simple. If you go to 365 Give, we do that all the time. We're sharing ideas, we're sharing, things that you can do to support our planet. Why not use your own social media for good and make that commitment that once a week on your social, you're going to do something to spread the message, right? Or to share a positive action you could take in the world, something that you've done yourself. Record a video of you picking up garbage at the beach, whatever it may be, to also share that message. So I love that you brought that up. My last
Sustainable,
question, yeah,
sustainable influencers. Okay.
right? Oh, they're
Yeah,
everywhere. They're
yeah,
huge. Absolutely.
yeah.
And why not be part of that, right? That's
Yes.
something that we can do. I'm going to use this as our closing as well. One of the few words that you had used in your LinkedIn article, the planet's health mirrors our own. Just tell us a little bit about how we can take that statement in. I thought it's so important. Planet's health mirrors our own. How can we look at that when we look out at the world and we see the fires and, as you said, the flooding and the storms? How can we start looking at that as a reflection of what's happening to our own health? Because if you're not taking it in as we're sharing a planet, take a look at it as, how is this reflecting back on me and my own life and my life longevity and vitality in this world?
Yes. Well, I'll give you an example that's really, alarming and at the same time sad, that we have here in Mexico City. That's really common, during the months of the year that we don't have that much rain. That, for example, is from October to May, June. We have like a stop sign here in Mexico, where when the levels of contamination are getting to a really dangerous range, where we cannot use some days of the week our cars. We cannot, move. And if you're moving with
Wow, I
that
didn't
car that
know that.
has, at the end of at the last number of your license plate has that number, you cannot circulate. You have to leave it at home. So
I
I would
didn't
say,
realize that. Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and it's really
Just
common.
because the
Sometimes
air quality is so bad at that point.
correct. And by the way, talking about health, imagine, you running in the street or in a park, in a public park, and when the levels of contamination are in that range. So talking about your health, you're really risking your life and your health when you're living in this atmosphere. So I would say it's totally in line. It's not disconnected. If we don't take care of the planet, if we're not taking care of the emissions, we're paying for it. And the air quality that we're breathing over here in a lot of cities throughout the world, this happens in a lot of the big cities
Mm-hmm.
and in the
Absolutely.
world. It's really dangerous, and that's why we are forced to leave some days of the week our vehicles at home. Obviously, if it's an EV or a hybrid, you're not, it does not apply. But if it's a fossil fuel vehicle, some days of the week, or at least one, your car is not allowed to move. So that's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
I give you some examples of what's happening in other cities like this one in Mexico City, but it's alarming that it's totally connected.
Yeah. No, my sister lives in LA, and when the fires were happening in LA, they were telling the public at that time is that all of the substances that got into the air are all the particulates. It was going to take 2 years for that to actually clear. And so people have just been sucking in all of the particulates from the
Mhm.
fires in their own air, which is, a direct reflection of what's happening to our planet on fire at the moment. So thank you, my friend. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for all you do, both in your personal life, in your work life, to support sustainability in our world and for our planet, not only for today, but for generations to come. It's an honor to know you, and thank you so much for being on our show today.
No, thank you. On the contrary, an honor, and hopefully we'll meet soon this year
That's the
in
goal,
person.
right?
In person, yeah.
That's no matter what, it's going to happen this year. I'm
Yes,
sure of it. So thank you
yes,
so
of
much,
course.
my friend.
Thank you.
I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Same here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a beautiful day.